Hey guys, Coach Coco here. Jumping on with Danny Poggi from PoggiTrained. We're going to get him on. We're going to be going over mental performance, sports performance, nutrition, all of the above today. So if you have any questions, feel free to. Looking forward to this conversation. Let me know how your season's going. How are some things you're struggling with? Hey, how you doing, guys? What's up? What's up? Yeah, very looking forward to this conversation. It's important that we get more local guys and people from this area on. Yo,
Hello, can you hear me?
there he is. I
What's
hear
up?
you loud and clear,
Yeah,
brother. How are you?
I'm good. Finally to I'm happy to finally connect after, a lot of attempts and but, just been busy with wrestling season all that, but yeah, I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, it's going,
hmm
man. It's good. I know you guys are really busy right now.
Yeah, I mean, we just got done with our intersession, so we were wrestling twice a day, and now the semester just started on Wednesday, so just rolling through the beginning of that, just trying to get adjusted to the new schedule and everything.
Yeah, so I saw you guys obviously did well at the States and what is it, the Suniacs now as a
There. Yeah,
team?
we won SUNY-X as a team, which was nice. First time ever in Oneonta history, so that was something to be
Yeah,
proud.
yeah, so the Suniac used to be another name. It was like the ECWC. So when I wrestled at Brockport, the conference was like transforming into the Suniac at the time.
Uh-huh.
It was yeah, they had a different name for it, but that's really awesome. Why do you think the team is doing so well? Is it the team culture? Is it the chemistry of the guys?
Yeah, I think a little bit of both team chemistry and the culture. We're all committed to one goal, which is just winning, and more importantly, just having fun. So, there's no real bad blood on the team. We're all super close, and we all want each other to win. So we're always just like pushing ourselves, and yeah, like I said before, just having fun doing it, which is nice.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. So how did you guys get everybody on board? I know you're one of the captains. I saw a post and there's like three other guys. Did you
hmm
come together in the off season, in the summer? Were you guys training together like as a team? How did that like mentality kind of get created?
Um, I think, just the guys that stayed on the team and who we had around us, I think really just everyone, kind of wanted to win because, in previous years we had some guys that were on the team but weren't fully committed. But I feel now this year, just that core of guys, um, we're all really on the same page. So obviously, in the off season we were grinding, we were talking about what we wanted, but as soon as we got to the room, it was kind of just a known thing that, we're all going to push for this. So it's always easier to do it together as a team rather than individually, just because you have people there to support you and, people to lean on.
Yeah, definitely. I think that obviously wrestling is an individual sport. We don't have to teach anybody that, but I think people undervalue the importance of the team goal in
Yeah,
any
definitely.
in any program because like if say we're on the same team, you wrestle before me or vice versa, and something happens in my match, like you got to be able to come together as a team through those moments of adversity and pull each other up versus like I only have to worry about myself, like me, I.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? Like
yeah,
it actually helps you. It gets you to a level, that mentality, but it only gets you to like a barrier, you know what I mean? Where when you have all the guys on the same mission, you could really get some awesome things cooking
yeah.
for sure. So
I also think,
what do you,
what's
yeah,
up? Oh,
go ahead.
just say, it's also important just, in the practice room, you're not going to feel 100% every day, but if you know that your brothers are there with you and they're there to push you and just your partners are there to push the pace when you're kind of tired. Things like that also help.
Yeah, definitely. You need those guys to push you the extra mile and to dig deep. A lot of the part of this season right now, as we get into February, obviously here on Long Island, we have counties coming up
Yeah.
and up sectionals, cities, for people in the tri-state.
hmm
It's really all mental because at this point in the season, everybody, like you said, is banged up. Everybody's faced injuries, adversity. And so, like, there's really no feeling sorry for yourself, one. And two, it's just like a big thing I talk about is like peaking at the right time. It's really just, like you said, having fun and doing things. I'll say this clearly, doing things that make you feel good, but not being overly concerned with how you feel.
Hmm.
So, for example, like if going into the ice bath is good, or going to the trainer is good, like keep doing that. But if you go into a practice one day and you're like, oh, I'm a little beat up, I'm sore, like you can't, you have to block that out and think of the outcome, which is after this workout, I'm going to feel like $1,000,000.
Hmm.
Is it- So it's a very nuanced thing. Like do the things that make you feel good. Go see your family, go for a hike, read a book, but don't focus so much on how you feel
Yeah.
on the day to day. Does that
I
kind
mean,
of make sense?
yeah,
It's
no, I think it's important to, do things that you enjoy, but at a certain point you gotta lock it down and do an extra sprint even though it sucks, or drill extra hard even though it sucks, just because that's gonna push you past your limits, and that's really just how you grow as an individual and also as a wrestler.
yeah. I think wrestlers think that they don't have to make that sacrifice in order to get to their goals. Like if you all you do is practice from 4 to 6 p.m. or 3 to 5, depending on the college and the class schedule, because I've been on a couple college staffs, so I know this is our typical practice block, especially at D3.
Hmm.
If you're only doing that, right, and not doing anything outside, like you're doing yourself a complete disservice. Like you need to do extra workouts, you do have to do extra drill sessions, and the coach can't make you. You got to do that yourself. You have to, or a small group of guys have to come and say, we're going to go get a lift at 8 p.m. We're going to
Hmm.
wake up tomorrow at 6 a.m.
Yeah.
Is that something you guys do after
Yeah,
work?
definitely. Yeah, I mean, I was in the gym this morning at like 8 o'clock, just get a nice lift in, and obviously we practice later, but just kind of doing those little extra things that put me over the edge, and it's something that I picked up. I don't know where from, but it's kind of this concept that practice is only 2 hours out of the day, and so you have 22 other hours out of the day to improve. So if you're only improving in practice 2 hours a day, you're leaving 22 hours on the table. So you is just trying to find different ways to get better outside of the room, or focusing on my nutrition better, or focusing on my sleep better. Try to stay off my cell phone. Things like that outside of just practice time to help me improve.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that because it's like it's that 8% rule. So like a workout, right? Because you're getting into training and dealing with clients. So if I work with somebody for an hour, that's 4% of their day. That's
Hmm.
nothing. That's a drop in the bucket. Practice for an athlete is 8% of their day. Like you said, 20. I like to look at things like that with like numbers
Hmm.
because it affects people. They can grasp it, when we tell them that. But yeah, you got to do the extra. You got to put in extra work. Everybody knows this, but people don't want to make the sacrifice because a lot of the times when it comes to mindset, there's this concept called fear of success. So I'll give you an example. So if I'm a college wrestler, right, and I give up all the parties and I give up all the social activities and I lock in, right,
Hmm.
I now am putting it on the line. So if I fail, the failure is bigger. Where I could be the same kid who's like half 1 foot in, and obviously I coach at the college level. I know, you know what I mean. I'm like in tune.
Yeah.
If my foot's half in and I fail, then I could go to my teammate Danny and be like, you know what, Danny, it doesn't matter anyway, bro. I was partying or I was doing this or
Yeah.
I was up studying. You get what I'm saying? So you have a built-in
Um,
excuse from a mindset perspective.
yeah.
Like, oh, it's all good. Like, you know what I mean?
Hmm. Yeah. No, it's definitely.
You want to avoid that.
Yeah. No, for sure. I think a lot of guys are definitely scared to take the risk, especially in college, just because there's more distractions in high school. Your mom drives you to practice. You get picked up by your mom. Your
Yeah.
mom makes you food. You don't have hard classes to deal with. You don't have parties. You don't have really too much of a social life to worry about. But in college, there's a lot more sacrifice to make to become successful. So a lot of guys are jumping.
Yes.
Especially I see a lot of high school guys not even compete in college just because the stakes are high,
Yeah.
and it's harder. But um,
I think, yeah, it's good that you're bringing up the high school. I think for you two guys too, like, and obviously, you wanted to get into like sports performance, sports psychology type of thing. Like, a lot of wrestlers will win the county last year. We'll just use that as an example. Time to peak, Mason Rupp. Yeah, time to peak. They'll be like wrestling like they're saving themselves, wrestling like they're protecting something. Like it's harder to defend the UFC belt than earn the belt, right? It's like just this concept they say, tell guys. Like it's harder to maintain at the top than it is to get there because you have to repeat. And say if me and you wrestled this season 3 times, like in the fourth match, I got to think like this is a new match. I can't rest on my laurels and think, oh well, I beat this guy or you beat me. Like you can't go into it with. It's a completely different match.
Mhm.
You got to treat it as a new match. I always a fresh start. New, even if you had wrestled the guy prior, because then we get in our own heads, right? Like, oh, I beat this guy. It's going to be a light match, and then you don't warm up, and then you wrestle terribly.
Yeah.
Like
Uh,
so. That's a big thing we talk about, Danny, is like not overestimating or underestimating. You want to be at
yeah.
like a baseline. You know what I mean? With everyone you wrestle, you know?
Yeah.
So,
I think
I,
keeping things is good. You know, I know we were talking about it before. Keeping the warm up the same, keeping the music that you listen to the same, keeping the timing between your stretching, your warm up, your routine, keeping everything the same, just so you have a constant slate. Nothing's too high, nothing's too low.
consistency is like king, right? So if you look at the best programs, like obviously as a wrestling coach, it's so easy to look at wrestling programs like the Hawkeyes, Iowa, Penn State, etc. But
Mhm.
I think we should look at Duke basketball. We should look at Alabama football. We
Yeah.
should look at the Lakers when Kobe was on the team. Like that, the number one thing that is their separation is consistency. So everything you just said is consistency. The best athletes are consistent performers. The best employees are consistent employees. They show up every day.
Hmm.
The best parent is a consistent parent.
Yeah.
So
100%.
obviously you're young, but it's like it don't matter what you're doing. All this stuff applies to everything in life.
Yeah.
That's the beauty of it.
Hmm.
That's the awesome part of it. Is like, of course we're looking to get goals, national championships, state championships, all American, but it's more than that. It's like what you do now is going to leave that foundation for later,
Yeah.
you know?
Uh-huh. Yeah, no, that's interesting. Something that I've been trying to tell myself, or just this quote that I read is, the success of your future is within your daily routine. So you need to get daily wins, stack them up to eventually, a bunch of wins leads to, you won a day, and then a bunch of days accumulates into a week, into a month, into a year. So just, having solid daily routines and getting small wins each day and checking boxes off small goals, can help a lot of guys achieve what they want to in the future.
Yeah, one of my favorite books is Chop Wood, Carry Water.
Yeah.
It's basically all about the process of chipping
Yeah.
away. Like just chipping away small. Just, I think that's a big thing. So when you're first starting out in wrestling, and obviously we're going to be talking about wrestling here, like a little kid, right? You got to teach them how to win,
Mhm.
like how to compete. You're new in the sport, but somebody like yourself, senior in college, been wrestling probably your whole life, like you got to focus more on the process.
Yeah.
And there's different types of goals. Like there's outcome goals, like state championship, a national championship, and then there's process goals, like you know, I'm going to get up at this time today. I'm going to eat lunch at this time. And then where I have a lot of success with the clients I work with is through performance goals. So you, for a wrestling analogy, a performance goal would be like, all right, this 30-second go, you need to shoot three times, 3 complete shots.
Yeah.
Or, in the performance goal for this season, John Smith, you got to get out in 90% of your matches, or you got to get riding time in 80% of your matches. So you set like a performance goal for the match versus like I have to win, I have to win, pressure, 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 anxiety, anxiety, anxiety.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I like that because
Do
I
you
think
do that?
yeah, but I think I can do more of it. I like the concept though, just because it takes obviously the pressure off winning, and there's a big difference between winning a match and performing well. So I think if you
That's a great point.
it's there's less anxiety about just getting your hand raised, and more if you're acting out the process. I'm shooting. I'm taking good shots. I'm getting out on bottom. My stance is good. My positioning is holding well. Like you will get victories in turn if you're just again chopping wood, carrying water.
Yeah, so for your own team, for your own wrestling, yeah, performance goals, a lot of athletes work with. And say if I was working with a basketball player, I'd be like, hey, buddy, you got to make 80% of your free throws. I just used a different sport, different analogy, but when you set those process and performance goals, like your outcomes will take care of
Yeah.
itself. Winning will take care of itself. And now you have some, just like because you're into exercise science, right? That's your major, like X Phys.
Yeah.
So like we use data, right? I'm sure you've taken a lot of classes of assessment and data, I'm assuming, like labs and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So if I'm working with somebody, I need to quantify their success. I have to show them that they're doing better. Are they going to want to work with me still if they're not improving? No.
Yeah.
So
No.
I could look at the data and say, hey, Danny, look, you got out in 80% of your matches. So look how well you're doing. Like obviously this was working.
Yeah.
So it's like I think that's an important part of what you're doing as like a profession. Obviously, we're talking, but it's to have data to assess. Does that like make sense? Like to show them the
Yeah.
numbers?
Definitely. I think also it's important just because guys can get discouraged just from their wins and losses. Like if they lose to a bad kid or they lose someone they thought they should have beat, things like that. But, if you pull out the data and say, you're taking good shots, you're getting out on bottom, or, for that, like, say, lacrosse player, like, you're getting shots on net, you're winning
Yeah.
face-offs, that. So being able to show your clients that there's more wins and losses and that you're actually improving despite is something that could be beneficial for a lot of different athletes.
Yeah, something that is a good conversation to have is this is very hard. Obviously, what we're talking about is more advanced for the advanced wrestler,
Mm-hmm.
but it's like moving away from winning and losing and going into performance.
Yeah.
So viewing it as a performance. Like I've told kids in the past, like think of a theater kid, think of like an art kid, or let's use a theater kid, like an actor. Like they're going to perform.
Mm-hmm.
Or a musician, they're going to perform. Wrestling's the same thing, except we wear a singlet and headgear sometimes. It's a performance. And on some days you could have a good performance, some days you can have a bad performance. But the coach and the athlete must determine what makes a good versus a bad one. Meaning, like, what did you do differently? Okay, maybe you didn't lose this match, you lost this match. Like, did you not warm up properly? Did you not hydrate? Did you not listen to that song? Were you wearing that hoodie? We need to figure out exactly what happened. And then once we figure that out, we can repeat the process.
Yeah.
And that goes into building a championship culture is having consistency. Same
Mm-hmm.
warm up, remember all that same stuff.
Yeah.
That's where that kind of ties in. And I think you said it perfectly. I think kids need to understand that. Like, dude, I don't care if you win a match if you wrestle like shit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You
Exactly.
could lose. Like, I'd rather you lose a match, right? And you had all out effort the whole time. You were aggressive, moved on bottom, looked to turn. That's something you walk away with pride,
Yeah.
regardless of the outcome, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think when you start to look at wrestling versus like hand raised, not hand raised, win loss, to did I perform well, and what do I need to do different next time? You start to jump
Yeah.
levels, right? Obviously, you've had a lot of success this season. What do you feel is like some of the main things that are separators from when you were maybe a freshman, say, earlier on in your career?
Um, I think one of the things majorly is just trusting myself, not getting nervous during a match, kind of realizing that, like, this is fun and I work hard and like I trust myself. So when I'm out on the mat, I don't really think overly hard. I know where I need to be. I know where my spots are and I pick them and I trust myself to, go get that takedown or I'm going to ride this guy super hard and I trust myself. Like I trust myself on top, I trust myself on bottom. Um, and yeah, it kind of just takes away the anxiety from worrying about too many things. I think also just, overall just having fun. Like, you see the Penn State guys talking about it and it sounds stupid, but, you know, you go out there and you have fun. You realize that, the weight cut's over, all the hard practices are over. And like, this is a time where you're just enjoying yourself being on the mat and, doing something that really is, it's not like it's not a guarantee, Like you should be grateful to compete, and you should be grateful to perform, because not everyone is able to do it, especially at the level that I am at college. I kind of just got to take a step back and realize that I'm grateful.
Yeah, it's a great, a lot of good points. You brought up the trusting mindset. So like, yeah, you could do that now because of your advanced and because of all the hard work you put in,
Mm-hmm.
right? As coaches, you could be dealing with like so many different levels of wrestlers, athletes, just in any. So it's like it takes time to get to that point,
Yeah.
which is awesome that you've arrived. I think a big thing with that mindset too is doing like play wrestling, so like
Mm-hmm.
sparring. And
Yeah.
so the only way you could trust yourself is if you scramble through positions, because a lot of the times kids get anxious, like you're saying, and stressed, like when you get put into like a weird spot, right, on neutral or
Yeah.
something. So
Yeah.
I think that coaches should lean into more like sparring. But as a high school coach, college coach, as somebody who's coached different levels of kids, it's very hard to teach kids how to
Yeah.
flow, like to extend the position. Like that's a challenge as any coach, club coach, college, high school. Like, but I think that the bottom line is if a wrestler's listening to this, they should do that more, and that will help them develop that mindset. What do you think, like with
Yeah. No,
that
I
type of thing?
agree. One of our coaches has us play wrestle like every single day. He drills us. He makes us play wrestle, and then he would also do, get one guy gets into a shot, and then you're just scrambling for like 15, 20 seconds there. So you get into the shot, and then you play wrestle. This weekend actually I got into like a high crotch. The kid sat,
Hmm.
crashed down, and went to go, crotch lift and roll me over. And it's something that I've drilled 800 times because we're play wrestling all the time. So I get rolled over, and then whatever, I just go through the motions, grab that ankle, lift it up. I'm able to get that takedown easily just because I put myself in that position and I'm comfortable in that position. So I think for young guys, just trying to find familiarity and knowing where they want to be and knowing where they don't want to be can help that anxiety, because in wrestling, there's a million different outcomes. So you got to be just mindful that you should train, from anywhere and be able to, funk out of any position.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that's like a hard position to teach. Like, say, if you're a high school coach, like we'll talk about like the crackdown because you brought it up, for example, like crackdown, right? Like sitting in the corner, teaching them the concept of like that's why it's so important for guys to do freestyle Greco. That's another story.
Yeah.
That's another a whole other conversation. But it's very important for wrestlers in the off season to not just train folk style year round. And I'm a big folk style guy. I'm
Yeah.
a big fan of folk style. Like I'm a big believer in it, but you have to train other styles. You have to expose yourself to other things, I even think it would be beneficial for some kids to pick up like some judo and like
Yeah.
some other grappling styles, like the Russians do like a lot of sambo and stuff, you
Yeah.
know?
Important just because you get different looks, you get different feels. I did jujitsu in the summer, and I feel like it definitely helped my top bottom game, just because I
Yeah.
knew more aware of my hips and where weight was on certain guys, and it's definitely helped scrambling ability also, just because I get different look, different feel, and you're comfortable in those weird positions.
Yeah, jiu-jitsu could definitely help. Yeah, absolutely. There's that one wrestler from where is he? Virginia Tech. He has like a jiu-jitsu background. He's been doing really well on the Division 1 scene. Um, but yeah, you see guys come in with like judo backgrounds. I've coached a lot of guys from like other countries, and they come in with like the freestyle background, and it's a good thing, right? Because if a kid's just constantly trying to like fireman's you and like do this, and you're not used to that, or you're like, it's good for a wrestler to get used to that different feel, like you said. And
Yeah.
yeah, once you have the trusting mindset, you can have fun. You mentioned like gratitude, right? It's like one of these things we hear a lot, but how does that affect you? How has that affected you positively?
Um, I think just because, like, in a match or in a tournament, like, everybody gets nervous. So, like, it's not about not being nervous. I think it's about more so being able to handle the nervousness and, telling yourself that, it's okay to be nervous, but you shouldn't let it negatively affect you. Like, I'm
Hmm.
thankful to be here. This is exactly where I want to be. This is what I trained for. Like, I trained for these big moments. I trained for these big matches. so I shouldn't really be nervous now. I should be excited for the opportunity. Like a lot of guys can't even get to that level where they're in the semis of the SUNYACs or they're in the semis of regionals, things like that. So once again, kind of just appreciating the moment and being one thing I tell myself is, just be where your feet are, just be present and try not to think about too many outside things and just control what you can control, which is just essentially just your effort and your attitude. Um, so that kind of helps keep me grounded.
Yeah, definitely. You said a lot of great things there. That's really important. I think that with the nerves, right? We teach guys like, nerves are getting your body ready. The same emotions that you have for nervousness is the same for excitement.
Hmm.
So what if we just made that mental shift, like that you're excited? I'm excited to compete. I'm excited to be here. And I think that gratitude is like a misunderstood thing. Like you want to be thankful, yes. Like I tell clients and stuff to make gratitude lists and things like that. But it's more about being thankful for the opportunity, for the moment,
Yeah.
for the ability to. Um, Something we have to get back to as a society, as like a sports culture, is like doing community service. Like I think it would be good for young wrestlers to see other kids their age, maybe who don't have the same advantages of them
Yeah.
physically or mentally, and to understand. Like obviously, I come from an education background. I've worked with tons of different students in the past too. Like just being exposed to that, like that type of thing makes you grateful, right? Because like I'll tell a kid straight up, like there's a kid out there who doesn't have arms or legs and would trade places with you in a minute. That's the real talk of the whole thing. It's like you have
Mm.
to take it. If God gave you a body, like you got to use it to your full advantage.
Yeah.
Not to take it's extreme, but it's very helpful.
No, yeah.
It's
I,
perspective.
I think that's important. Something I tell my guys, at least like on my team, is if showing up to wrestling practice is the hardest part of your day, like you live a pretty good life. There's kids that don't have an education. There's kids that can't go to college, that don't even can't even afford wrestling shoes, things like that. So if if you're complaining about your leg sore and having to go to practice, I would say that's a pretty good life. If that's the hardest thing you have to do today. So once again,
Yeah,
perspective.
absolutely. Yeah, I think that stuff's important as a team to do like community service, whether it's on campus or within the community. That stuff really, like we were talking earlier about team stuff. I think just that concept is good for coaches and people to do, and
Yeah.
will make you more grateful because we could all get caught up in our own little worlds, and that's like the problem with social media and stuff. And the phone, it's like we're too in our head and not in our body, acting, living, being present, like you said. Um, yeah, I have the guys do a list of like the win principle. What's important now? There's this coach Lou Holtz who came up with that phrase, win, what's important now? And so you make the guys like make a quick list of what's important now. What's important is practice,
Yeah.
not your phone. Like right where like once you walk through those doors, like everything has to be turned off. You got to lock in to what's important now.
Yeah.
But I guess another thing would be like with all this stuff is it's great. What else would you tell your younger self or maybe, a younger wrestler on this stuff that would help them?
Honestly, like for lack of a better term, like you got to live the life. You can't you can't go half wrestler, half whatever. Like you really have to day in day out, like we said, consistency, and persistence. You got to go to wrestling. You got to go to clubs. You got to go to tournaments. Like you have to actively on getting better. And also another is don't just go through the motions. Like, go to practice with a goal in mind. Go to practice. I want to develop my lefty single. I want to like get out on bottom. You can't just let's just drill a little bit and then let's just go live. Like yeah, you're on the mat wrestling, but there's nothing specific that you're getting better at. You're just once again going through the motions. So having a goal in mind and like we said before, setting little goals, mini goals to help us achieve our long term goals is something that I found very beneficial in helping myself grow. Just like today, I want to get better at this. Today, I want to work on this specific hand fighting motion, and then tomorrow we can develop off that. We can hit a fake to another shot or things like that. So just finding ways, to get better.
Yeah, and this is all great stuff. Like you're talking about goal, we've been talking about goal setting a lot. So when people think of like mental training, like that's the first thing Like when I was growing up, like I've been into this my whole life, but there was not like a like there was it wasn't as organized and structured as it is now. The information is not where it's at, but like everybody knows goal setting. Like that's a very common topic. But people think just like write down your goal or put your goal up where you see it, but there's more to it than that. Like we talked about process, performance, outcome. I've done like videos on this just to help wrestlers like understand the differences and make them set goals. But we tell the guys like you have to be intentional. That's what you're talking. You have to be very, very specific. You know about SMART goals, I'm sure, in school,
Hmm.
like setting those SMART goals of specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, timely. That's the SMART.
Uh-huh.
So smart goal setting is being specific. So if you're a kid right now in like 11th grade or you're in college, you're a sophomore, and you're like relying on coach to like spoon feed you, like you need to work on crackdown. Here's the spoon. You need like no man, you need to go to practice and be like I'm gonna work at my crab ride series today. I'm gonna work on leg riding defense. Like I need to get better at power half defense. Like that's a specific. I'm just using top and bottom. A
Yeah.
specific niche area. Like maybe in your last match, you couldn't get finished a low single. Like that's what you need to. Yes, do what your coach tells you. Yes, drill. Yes, work hard. Yeah, of course. But
Yeah.
you need to be going in there with a plan, right?
Hmm.
Specific plan. And what Danny's going to do is different than the heavyweight and
Yeah.
the 125 pounder. That's another whole thing too, where guys like wrestling is like track. Like we don't talk about this much, but there's like lightweight coaching, there's middleweight coaching, there's heavyweight, upper weight.
Yes.
Even 97 pounder wrestle is different than a heavyweight,
Hmm.
84, like upper weight. And the 74 is a little different than the 49, it's a different type of style.
Yeah.
So we got to really niche down. We really got to like narrow down to like who our audience is. And a big thing I tell coaches, like people like yourself, like you got to meet your clients where they're at.
Yeah.
Do you get with that? Do you ever heard that before? Like you got to meet people where they're at in life,
Yeah.
like what they're
Definitely.
good at.
Uh, being able to, adjust to whatever your client needs or whatever your athlete needs, kind of just tailoring it and making it more individualized rather than just general.
Yeah, that's been always been one of my like problems, I guess, or something I've always wanted to do differently as a coach. I feel like there's not a lot of like you need to, in order for somebody to be successful, there needs to be like individualization
Hmm.
to a degree.
Yeah.
You can't just do like general. Exactly. Once you get to a certain level, obviously, like the modified kids need to learn like half and CrossFit, whatever, and then like maybe varsity and defense, whatever. But yeah, that's kind of how I feel about that. Is just being specific. I really like what you said, but obviously you had some questions. I saw you put that up. Was there any questions in particular that stuck out?
Yeah. One question I got was just how to, build a better gas tank because I think a lot of guys struggle with that. Um, and
What do
honestly,
you think?
I think it's just focus on like the specific energy system, so anaerobic, aerobic, and then kind of our creatine, phosphate, our explosive power. Just because a lot of coaches will just tell you to run 10 miles, which is not realistic because a wrestling match is 7 minutes. So um, I think circuits are something that's underrated, or like a Tabata workout where it's um, you're working for two and then you're resting for one. So whether that ratio is 30 and 15, or a minute and 30 rest, that's really going to build our explosive power and then our explosive endurance to be able to repeat these powerful motions again and again without getting tired.
Yeah, definitely. I like that a lot. I think, yeah, it's like, let me start back. What do you guys do for the preseason? Do you do like runs? What does your team do typically? I'm
Um,
going somewhere with this.
During this preseason, we did just some things. For example, we did Cooper's run test, so just 12 minutes around the track for as long as as many laps as you can. So for us, it was
I
trying to
like
get
that.
2 miles. So that's what we were pushing towards. Also
Eight
doing
laps.
a lot of hill sprints. Our coach is making us sprint up hills, and then more just like sprint work. We were doing some tire work where we were holding tires, or we were like flipping tires, things of that nature.
Yeah, for sure. So You said something earlier, so building a better gas tank. So it goes back to what you said earlier. It's about lifestyle. So you have to ask the wrestler or the athlete, are you committed or are you interested?
Hmm.
A lot of the time, are you committed or are you interested? Are you interested or are you willing to like make this a lifestyle, like you were talking about? And your lifestyle boils down to your sleep, your nutrition, your hydration habits. If you're poor in those areas, you're going to gas in practice a
Yeah,
lot. Even if you're a tough kid, you're strong. You know these guys. They're good until the first, second period. There's tons of wrestlers like this. If you're not living that lifestyle, like you mentioned earlier, Danny, we could do all the Tabata drills in the world. I could put you near that. I have a school near my house. We could set up the cones. You could do different like tempo runs. It doesn't matter if you're not living the lifestyle. If you're on up all night on the phone, playing a video game, whatever you're doing, like if
definitely.
you're shot, you're done. Like you're done for. So I think lifestyle is key for
Yeah,
conditioning. And
yeah.
I think wrestlers try to have it all, right? Like I just wanted to talk about this earlier. Like my college coach told us that you could only have two of the three: academic, athletic, social. They're really upfront. Like you got to make your choice. And if that's not something for you, like you got to go. Like, there's the door.
Hmm.
There was no, pulling punches. And it's very true. If you're very serious and you're very committed with your goals, like you really got to, like you said, lock in and make those sacrifices. But yeah, I think kids could, even with their, like coaches design practices a certain way for a reason.
Hmm.
Not to say every coach is the best, but like if you're doing the live situations, if you're doing the like the conditioning and you're actually pushing yourself, you should be getting a lot of conditioning from wrestling.
Yeah,
I think a lot of like we were talking about this, a lot of kids hold back. So they hold back in practice. They're saving themselves. Going back to that from a sports psych type of perspective, right? You guys are doing the sprints at the end, they're holding back. Maybe coach says, hey, Danny, you and your partner, one guy's down by one. One guy's in on the low sit. You're not, and they're not going hard during those goes. They're never going to get into shape.
yeah.
You know what I mean?
I
Do you ever
think,
see that?
yeah, um, I think a lot of guys don't really understand the concept of like hard drilling. Like you need to drill hard, and that's the way you build a gas tank. Because in a match, your opponent's not going 70%, 80%. Like you guys are going 100%. And if you're training that, I feel like the best way to get in wrestling shape is to wrestle. No matter how many strength coaches want to tell you this, tell you that, if you're not wrestling, you're not on the mat. You're missing out definitely. And once again, we gotta work hard on the mat. We gotta drill hard. Um, we gotta put ourselves in as close to a match scenario as possible.
Yeah, drillers make killers.
Oh
No,
yeah,
drilling doesn't go out of style. Old school is best school. Drilling still works. Drilling properly. So again, it all goes back to being like a coach. They have to like hands on the guy drilling the whole time. I'll see kids, they'll drill an awesome takedown and then they'll take 15 seconds to make contact again.
whereas
Tell me you know what I'm talking about. I'm like, what is going on here? Like, what are we doing? Like hands-on drilling the whole time, and you have to teach kids this. This is the part of being a coach, and you have to show them, and you got to show them again, and then you got to show them again, you
yeah,
know. So, um, yeah, you have to exemplify hands-on drilling. I call it, like,
yeah,
you take hands on the guy the whole time in their face, like. But exactly, I think that there's another thing that I find in college a lot, and it was happening when I was in college too, is like kids fall in love with the gym. And this is like, do you get what I mean? Like they fall in love with the weights more than the wrestling. I think you're breaking up, but it's all right. So you don't want that to happen. You don't want that to happen. You gotta you gotta balance everything out. Strength conditioning, wrestling. Can't fall in love with the weight room. Let's see if this guy's. Thank you for staying on with us, the guys who are on here. We're gonna see. I think there was a service connection, but it's really good stuff that we're getting at here. A lot of this stuff takes time to learn. It really only comes from experience. So you need to have certain experience to know this stuff. be able to go through it. Um, yeah, you gotta have the right lifestyle. That's the big thing, guys. The right lifestyle. If you're always constantly gassing in practice, or you have to stop, usually it has to do with something within your control. Sleep, hydration properly. When you wake up, you gotta drink at least 16 ounces of water. When you go to sleep at night, you definitely um, got to be getting at least 7 hours minimum. 8 would be better. Get getting the work in that you need. Let's see what's happening. Except, here we go. Unable to join. All right, guys. Let me see. Oh, there he
Hey, what's
is.
up? Sorry about that. Yeah, I don't know. I think my internet went out or something. It just broke up a little bit. But
That's that Oneonta connection, huh?
oh yeah, yeah. It's snowing.
That
It's raining. You know,
Altice.
cold. All that stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, yeah, we were going in. I was going in about just lifestyle and stuff. And, oh,
Yeah.
guys falling in love with the gym. That's what I was telling you. I was trying to tell you.
Oh, yeah.
Do you know what I'm talking about? Like the
Just
kid
like
joins a wrestling team, but now he's at like the fitness center every day, and you don't want to drill.
yeah, he's just lifting. Like
Just lifting.
or if we would have an off day, we're like, oh, like what are you like? Oh, I'm not gonna wrestle. I'm just gonna go lift.
Like,
Like, all right, dude. I mean, yeah, it's good to lift, but we got to be wrestling.
yeah, so that's like things that you learn as a coach. Like these guys, there's these characters
Yeah.
that you deal with, and they repeat. There's like the always injured kid.
Mhm.
There's the kid who falls in love with lifting. There's all these different characters as a coach that you continue, that they repeat themselves year after year, generation after generation. It doesn't matter. It's crazy, but that's a trap I would tell people to avoid. And I love strength and conditioning. Huge advocate of the weight room. It's honestly, think about it yourself. Like you feel like it's been a difference maker. I'm sure learning about
Yeah.
all this stuff, X Phys.
Yeah, I think just the way that I've been training in the weight room is a lot different from previous years. I mean, in college, I've had it pretty well, but in high school, I wasn't training the way I was right now, and you can see it in my performance. My conditioning is a lot better. I'm in weird positions, because I train myself in those positions. Um, yeah, honestly, just a total 180 from where I was in high school, just based off the way that I was lifting weights.
Yeah, do you guys do like a team lift? Do you have a strength and conditioning coach up
Um,
there?
Yeah, we have strength and conditioning coaches that we use, but for the most part, it's kind of just open lift because a lot of guys are in different spots in their weight cut and in different spots with their fatigue levels and energy levels. So coach kind of just leaves it open to for us to do what we need, but we're a good team. We're disciplined. We're number 9 in the nation right now. We got a couple nationally ranked guys, so when we get in the gym, there's no funny business. We're doing what we're doing and there's a purpose behind it. So I'm glad that our coach gives us that freedom, but I understand obviously not everybody, is willing to accept that responsibility. But for us, it's been well.
Yeah, that's awesome. It seems like there's some great resources up there for sure,
Yeah.
and that you're utilizing the time.
Hmm.
Yeah, there's a lot of bad information out there. That's kind of like how I got started on the social media thing. Like, I really am obviously not a huge fan of it, but here I am. Like, I just kept seeing such bad advice that I was like, all right, I have to like put some stuff out,
Yeah.
and you learn how to do this because this is so bad. Like, they're telling kids to do like 3x10 dumbbell flies.
Yeah.
Like these
That's
like
crazy.
bro splits. I'm like, yeah, like that's great for aesthetics, but that's not going to help a wrestler,
Hmm.
you know? And you could still get workouts in like that. It's not to completely like say, don't ever lift like that ever again. No, I'm not I don't believe in that. Like
Yeah.
there's a time and place for everything, but like we're talking about, there's sport specific lifts and there's certain exercises and positions that through a full range of motion that are going to help you in, like you said, the scrambles.
Hmm.
And something that you probably could benefit you is something I've been experimenting a lot with. It's like close range isometrics. So like end range isometrics. So like in a lunge position, say, or like bottom of a push-up, like a bottom of a dip, like those stretch positions.
Yeah.
That's been that's a little more advanced, obviously. But I think those things, if you experiment with those, can help you. You know?
Yeah, I think it's a great way, especially in season because they're not going to get you as sore as doing like something that is a lot of eccentric based. So isometrics
100%.
tax your central nervous system a lot, but not include too much fatigue, which is nice, especially during the season, just because wrestling's hard and you got to save your energy and your nervous system for practice, which really counts. So
Yeah, before we knew as much information now, one of the lifts I'd have guys do is I'd have them trap bar deadlift, but then like drop it at the top.
yeah,
So it's only concentric.
yeah,
Obviously now we have bands, we have chains, we have different modalities, but like that was like me trying to be creative back in the day. It's like
that's all.
10, you know? So there's stuff like that. I think it's really important, and I think we could get into all this stuff, but the biggest mistake guys make is just not lifting at all. They just
Yeah,
stop. They just
yeah,
stop during the season.
yeah.
It gets busy.
I think there's a lot of science stuff that we can delve into, but at the end of the day, keep your strength up, keep throwing around some weights, and once again, what's your goal? Is your goal to get stronger? Is your goal to, keep your muscle and keep your strength? So it's kind of just all dependent on your goal and what you want.
Yeah, 100%. It's showing up to practice, showing to the weight room with, like you said, intent,
Hmm.
specificity. Like,
Yeah,
I don't know, I need to get my squat better. I need to get more pull-ups. I need to, like, you got to set goals. All this stuff goes around goals, habits, like you said, the right lifestyle. You got to live the lifestyle. And um, I'm sick and tired of wrestlers saying, or athletes. I've worked with a lot of different athletes, like, oh, I'm making a sacrifice. Like, dude, there is no sacrifice. You made this choice, man. You decided to apply to the school. You decided to walk onto the team. Like, it's you're up to you. You're in the driver's seat. You're in control. So, from a from a mental perspective, like everybody's trying to shift the blame.
yeah,
Focusing on too much of what's outside of our control.
yeah.
Like people have to be the drivers in their own life,
Hmm.
you know,
Yeah,
and
no,
switch that mindset.
yeah. I think that's really important, just because a mentality I like to carry with me is, I'm gonna be at practice for 2 hours. Like I'm gonna be there, so why would I not give it everything I have? Like I'm not gonna waste my time going 60, 70%. Like I'm gonna go 100 because I know I'm gonna be there no matter what, and I'm gonna make the most of my time. You know what I mean? If I'm gonna be in the room working, I'm gonna make the most of it.
Yeah, I think that there's too people don't realize like not a good things happen in the gray area. Like you got to be either on when you're on, you're focused, your efforts there, your attitude, aggressiveness. When you're off, your rest, relaxation, like
Yeah.
you're chill.
Hmm.
Like you don't need to like exist as the gray area. Like no dreams have been accomplished in the gray area. Nothing great has ever happened being, warm, lukewarm. Like you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, definitely.
It's a hard thing to try to teach people, but like you got to go all in. You got to be, drill like we said, drill and kill. Drillers make killers. Like
Mhm.
either all in or all out. When you're at the house, you're watching the game or whatever, you're chilling. That's it. And I think guys need to learn to do that, also to not burn out. Physical
Yeah,
burnout is really over exaggerated, but I think mental burnout is definitely more common
I
in my
agree.
experience.
Hmm.
How, what do you guys do for recovery? What are some things that help you keep you
Um,
fresh this
this
season?
we've been doing a lot of yoga, which has been helping. A lot of our morning sessions have yoga at the end, so we'll drill and lift, and then we'll schedule like 11 o'clock. We're gonna have a team yoga session to get ready for the next practice, or in the afternoon practice, we'll run through our practice, and then coach will have us do yoga because we have a TV in our room, so it's a
That's
Roku
helpful.
tube. Look up, 20-minute yoga recovery. Boom, there you go. Yeah, and then obviously just like stretching, and then honestly like outside of the room, just trying to find ways to take your mind off wrestling and just chill out. Like me and my roommates, we'll just chill out and watch a movie. Like we'll just come home and we'll start going on Netflix on HBO and we'll just watch a movie, or we'll go to the movie theater or we'll go to the mall and just walk around and chill and hang out. Kind of just trying to find activities that are not going to stress our bodies out and, take some of that weight off of just wrestling constantly and constantly and constantly and just trying to like rest our minds from it.
Yeah, definitely, especially where you're at on campus. It's a different type of thing than being at home, different type of
Mm-hmm.
lifestyle. So you got to make those choices, I think. I remember, being a college wrestler, and I feel like doing more of that would have been definitely helpful. It was definitely a lot of kill, a lot of drill and kill, not enough play.
Yeah,
I mean, all the things they talk about are from experience basis, and I'm just trying to help the next generation understand that and have a better experience with the wrestling and be better, right? So that's like my
yeah,
ultimate goal with this stuff. And yeah, for peak performance purposes, you guys got to keep doing that stuff. Like even something fun and recreational. Say like, it's like active recovery. Like I don't know if you guys have it down there, but like squash or like badminton or like just some sort of game, some sort of physical, like something fun,
yeah. We
something light.
we played this game called like Scatterball for a warm up every
The
day.
kids love that. Yeah, yeah.
Like solo dodgeball, I guess. So there's two spike balls, and if you get hit, you're down. If you get a ball while you're down, you get somebody else that's up. You're back in. It's kind of just a fun way to keep the kids smiling, keeping us having fun. Because at the end of the day, we are kids, and it's supposed to be fun. So it's kind of just a good mix up from just wrestling, wrestling, wrestling. Because
Yeah.
there's other ways to develop your athleticism without just strictly wrestling.
Yeah, that's all good stuff right there. Games as warm-ups, and then anything outside, like going for a hike, walk, anything like frisbee, like something like out. I think it's tough because we're in New York and you're upstate, but like wrestlers need to do more outdoor stuff. Athletes need to work out outside. Like we were meant to be. Like you think I'm gonna go crazy with this. Is think about to the Olympics. Think about how sports started. They're not
Mm-hmm.
indoor, you
Yeah,
know. I'm sure you're into like about like circadian rhythm and
yeah.
like the sun and all that. Like so we really do ourselves a disservice as athletes, like with all the indoor stuff is where I'm going. So you got to get creative, I think,
Yeah,
as an
definitely.
athlete and as a
I
coach. Like kids,
Yeah, at least in the first half of the first semester, our coach would try to bring us out as much as possible when it was nice. We would obviously do our runs, do our sprints. But yeah, we would play ultimate frisbee or we play some football or like me and the guys. If we didn't have practice, we just go on the turf, play some spike ball. Finding creative ways to just get a workout in and also have fun at the same time.
that's awesome. Love it. Just because I know there's some high schoolers who jumped on, some younger guys. They, what would you suggest if you're a high school kid wanting to wrestle in college? Obviously, I always have my perspective on it, but what do you think? What would you share with these guys?
I mean, yeah, I think it's awesome. I think college wrestling is a great way to, develop lifelong relationships just based off the team. You get held accountable for your grades and for community service and things like that, all resume building stuff. But I mean, I would tell them that they gotta buckle their seatbelts because, it's a lot. It's a big commitment, but I mean, I'm loving it. It's paying off. But yeah, like we said before, you're either all in, you're zero or you're 100. So if you're not willing to, give it everything, then I don't know, maybe it's not for you.
I think you have to love it.
Yeah,
You
100%.
have to love it. You have to love training. You have to love getting better. You have to,
Yeah.
that would be like a big thing, right?
Hmm.
I'll be honest on here because I'm no longer in like this role, but when I would call kids to recruit them, like if they didn't know their GPA, red flag. What's your GPA? You don't know it? Immediate red flag, right? I put a mark next to it. Or if I ask them, I'd have certain questions, right? So like that would be one of them. And if they say I don't know or I have to check, red flag immediately.
Yeah.
Um, right? So like academics is so important, grades are so important. Like I got my undergraduate from SUNY Brockport, like you're about to get yours, right? From
Hmm.
Oneonta.
Yep.
Like those schools are hard to get into now.
Yeah.
Those are tough schools to get into. Everybody wants to go to them.
Hmm.
They're affordable. So the
Yeah.
competition is high. So
Yeah.
you got to get your grades up, I think is key.
Yeah,
And then,
definitely.
yeah, how about you were talking about it earlier, like the responsibility factor, like time management. How have you managed your time?
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's a lot different than high school just because you have classes and I live by myself, so it's like I gotta go grocery shopping, I gotta do laundry, I gotta do all this stuff, and then once again, you gotta find ways to chill and relax and not be running around all day just because, you got practice twice a day and you're tired and you gotta kind of just, mellow out at times. But I think kind of just getting a bucket list going, checking things off that I need to do, um, and really just writing things down and keeping myself accountable is something that helped me with my time management. Just because I know what I need to do, I get it done, and there's no like confusion or oh I had this assignment that I forgot to do or oh this assignment's due in a day, but I'm on the bus going to a tournament. So, kind of just getting things done when I know that I have free time, or planning ahead. So, say if I have an assignment due on Saturday, but I have a huge tournament on Saturday, like Tuesday, Wednesday, I might not want to do the assignment, but it's going to be a lot worth it if I do it earlier in the week rather than when it's Friday and I'm dehydrated and things like that. So, yeah.
Yeah, you got to keep that calendar. You got to
Hmm.
keep that calendar is the biggest thing. Like what's helped me with this, like working with clients, this will help you is like time block everything. So
Hmm.
I have this call time block. I
Yeah.
have a appointment this afternoon, time block. Like even personal stuff with my family, like I put it in the calendar.
Hmm.
Like I don't mess around. Like the calendar is sacred.
Great. Yeah.
That'll help
That's all.
you a bunch. Like the
Yeah.
calendar does not, I don't break the calendar. Like practice this morning was in the calendar. Obviously, I know I'm going. Like I don't need to put it in the calendar,
Yeah.
but
But
it's
it's
just
a lot
I
of
put funny stuff in there. Like uh, I'll even put like errands, like throw out trash. Like I have that in there.
yeah.
Like I have funny stuff in there because it has to be that way. And I think that ultimately, like as I'm getting older as a coach, like here's the deal, like life now is very, very convenient, very, very comfortable. Going back to the gratitude, like the wrestlers who commit themselves to doing what like you're doing in college, like you're gonna be way ahead of your peers. You're gonna be way ahead of other people because of the sacrifices you made and the commitment.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter if you want to work for a company, work for yourself, like whatever you're doing, you're gonna have to have like a commitment level and doing it at a high level like this. Even guys who wrestled in high school, they're way ahead of their peers. It
Yeah.
could be 2000, 2010, 2025. Like it doesn't
Mhm.
matter what year we put us in, just the attitude, right, and the mindset you build.
Yeah.
Um, Things are way too easy now. We have to like almost purposefully inconvenience ourselves, you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
challenge ourselves. So
Hmm.
that's kind of my philosophy is like helping young men, helping people become better at life, through this learning. Like, yeah, of course, like it's about wrestling, but it's way more than that,
Yeah.
you know. It,
Yeah, no, I agree. I think it's kind of just like a metaphor for life, like Dan Gable said it's kind of corny, but once you wrestle with everything, and life is easy, 'Cause wrestling is really hard, and it holds you to a standard, So, like, oh, you are overweight, like you need to make weight, like that is not negotiable. It's something that you need to do. Or I'm tired, but I'm gonna go to practice anyway, and I'm gonna work really hard at practice. Or, I'm wrestling a good kid, and I'm nervous, and I'm scared, but I'm gonna be scared to death, and I'm gonna go get a takedown, and I'm gonna go win the match. So things like that you learn in wrestling easily transfer to anything that you do in life,
and you,
just because the principle is not really subject to just on the mat.
yeah, you said it best too. You were talking about we were talking about wrestling in college, like building relationships. Like I'd say at least half the guys I've still in contact with guys who are on my college wrestling team. Like I've been in multiple of their weddings. Like these are
Yeah.
guys who are in higher places with jobs and coaching now, you
Hmm.
know.
Yeah.
So your college teammates, right? They're going to be people you're going to be with in your 20s and probably into your 30s. Like I'm in my 30s now, so you stay connected to these people. Those relationships are just funny, and it's funny to look back. Like,
Yeah.
remember we did this? Like it's crazy.
Hmm.
So those relationships, like obviously, like you guys will do some fun stuff, but also professionally is huge
Yeah. That's,
in the future. And
hmm.
just stay connected. That's a big thing. Stay connected because people, especially when you go to school like upstate, it's different. Like people are from all over New York. Like I have friends who I haven't seen in years, but they live in like different parts of New York.
Yeah. Exactly.
Section
Hmm.
2, same type of deal. So they're all doing well, but what I would say. Stay connected, leverage your network.
Yeah.
Any before we wrap this up, I believe in this is to be like an hour. It's like a workout. If it's longer than an hour, we messed up. There's something we did something wrong here.
Yeah.
Any questions for me you feel, or like anything that you like? Obviously, we had the gas tank question, but anything
Yeah.
you feel like,
That I want to ask you.
yeah, like address?
Because I know I had some questions, but we kind of covered a lot of them. I guess I would ask, like, what is the most rewarding part of your job as, someone who coaches athletes?
Yeah, the most rewarding part is not necessarily working with the best kid or the highest level, but taking somebody and showing them either a technique on the mat or in the weight room, and like having them actually apply it and seeing their transformation. Like, there's been plenty of athletes I've worked with who are like a completely different kid in middle school, and then you see them turning into like a young man and being responsible and like transforming, like
Mhm.
we were talking about, like just turning that page, seeing a wrestler not only like yourself, like turn the page on the mat and do so well, but also in life, like outside.
Mhm.
So, and never got into this. It's a calling. Coaching is a calling. Like, if somebody's trying to do this to get into it for the money or the financial, like, there's plenty of business jobs in the city. Don't this like if you're not about this life, like don't do it.
Mhm.
You're gonna get disappointed. Like, kids are gonna break your heart. You're gonna get disappointed. Um, so there's plenty of things you could do, obviously, but if your heart's not into it, and this isn't like what you live and breathe, like it's not. It's like wrestling. It's not something to get into,
Mhm.
in my opinion.
Yeah.
It's and it's not to scare anybody or be like, but that's the reality. Like, there's plenty of things you could do for money. You have to like love it, live it, breathe it, you know?
Yeah. Mhm.
And I'd say that's the biggest thing, though, watching people turn that corner, watching guys go from like being insecure, immature, and like becoming confident, becoming like a leader.
Yeah. That's
It's
awesome.
big. Unfortunately, there's a lot of coaches who have like very huge ego. They still think they're on the mat or something, and like
Yeah.
I'll still roll around with the kids or whatever. That more for like build the relationship. But yeah, you can't be like big timing people. You know what I mean? If you're in that, if you're also in coaching for like your own ego, like you're gonna also run into some walls.
Yeah.
So
Of course.
I think it's important to be selfless, servant leadership. You ever heard about that concept?
Yeah.
Okay.
Kind of. I mean, yeah, you're a leader, but you're also there to serve. So, you kind of
Like,
gotta take a step back from the kids.
100%. So that's kind of how I approach my coaching philosophy,
Yeah.
either like personal clients or in a wrestling thing. Like, this isn't about me. Like, sometimes kids will ask me like, "Hey, coach, what do you think of this?" And I'm like, it doesn't matter what I think. Like, this is about you. And they're like, "What? What is this guy talking about?"
Uh,
You know?
yeah.
That's kind of that's it though, Danny. That's my mindset on the coaching, and we'll definitely have to do this again because
Yeah.
there's
Definitely.
plenty of more to cover. We'll give you some time. Let's circle back after the season. Let's get you ready and stay locked in, stay focused. I don't want you to. But if you need anything in between then and now, just feel free to shoot me a text anytime. We'll get on a call.
Yeah. For sure.
And if you want to, like, we'll jump on a call, FaceTime, whatever. We'll talk to the team. We'll figure something out.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. Definitely. Yeah, we'll definitely keep in touch and set something up in the near future.
Absolutely. Let's wishing you lots of luck, man. Keep
Thanks.
working hard.
Yeah,
Stay
I
on the
will.
grind. Okay? Stay
All right.
focused. All right,
All right.
man.
Have a good day.
Take
Appreciate it.
care. Thank you.
Bye.
Take it easy.